Hi everyone, I am Kang Irene Yerin. You can call me Irene or Yerin. I'm currently a law student in Handong University, which is located in a small coastal city in South Korea named Pohang. I wanted to share my experience doing a short credit exchange program, 학점교류, during summer break at Sogang University. How did I do this? So, I've always dreamed of going abroad for an exchange program. Study law somewhere else, experience another culture, see how the world looks from a different perspective, and also to meet my friends. But I had a lot of limitations. I was actually right there before applying abroad, but situations happen. Due to time, finances, and responsibilities, I had to stay in Korea. So I did fall down in the beginning, but I was like, let's look for another ways to go abroad then. Maybe through moot courts, mock trials, international projects, and even through sports announcing, I would be able to experience abroad and experience the other world and meet my friends and share stories beyond the classroom. Still, I always wonder what it would be like to study at a university in Seoul that I'd only seen in K-dramas. They always walk through a big campus, study in those wide libraries. Just sounds very romantic and definitely feel the pace of the city. And I have a heart for Seoul, which is why I made this channel for Seoul as well. But yeah, and I love South Korea, experiencing new culture, new places to eat. So I was really looking forward to that as well. When I found out there is a short credit exchange program at Sogang University, I applied right away. My parents first were hesitant. They said, Irina, isn't it too far? 4 hours a day on a train just for one class? But I was like, sure, yeah, that's very true. But something in me said, let me try it anyway. I thought I'd be taking a totally different subject. But due to last minute change, I was placed in a course called Introduction to Logic, 논리학개론. Because I did not need to take that class in the first place, I was about to drop it and be like, maybe next time. But now I can say with full confidence that it was one of the best coincidences that happened in my life. A small, unexpected miracle. Because through this one class, I didn't just learn how to reason for the first time. I learned how to see truth, how to live as a witness of it, and how to understand law and life in a completely new way. And that is that story.
Logic sounds difficult, but it's actually simple. Logic is the study of reasoning, how to think clearly and fairly. In logic, every argument has two parts: premises, your reasons or evidence, and a conclusion, the idea you want to prove. For example, all humans are mortal. Socrates is a human. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. That's a good argument because if both reasons are true, the conclusion must be true too. But if the reasoning is wrong or the evidence is false, even the most beautiful speech can't make it true. That's why logic matters. It helps us tell the difference between what sounds right and what is right. How logic and law connect. As a law student, logic changed the way I see my field. Law isn't just about rules, it's about proof. To win a case, a lawyer must prove their conclusion using evidence. But that evidence must do two things: logically connect to the conclusion, be true and trustworthy. That's the same as logic. A good argument must have a strong connection and true premises. So, logic became more than a class. It became a mirror, showing me how truth and structure work together to create justice. My validity is not enough. There was one concept that was so hard to accept at first. Why would logic call an argument good if its evidence is false? As a law student, my brain screamed, "That makes no sense." But logic forced me to separate two things, logic and reality. Logic cares about form, the shape of reasoning. Law cares about fact, what's true in real life. In logic, we test validity by asking one question: if the premises were true, would the conclusion have to be true? If the answer is yes, the argument is valid, even if the premises are totally false. Here's a fun example. Premise 1. All whales are reptiles. Premise 2. Irene is a whale. Conclusion. Therefore, Irene is a reptile. Everything here is false, obviously, but the structure is perfectly valid. If we pretend the first two statements are true, the conclusion would logically follow. So, logic says it's valid because the reasoning works like a perfect engine, even though it runs on fake fuel. But law says it's unsound because in court, truth matters. To be sound, an argument must be both valid in structure and built on true premises. Only then it guarantees a true conclusion. So logic checks if the engine works, law checks if the fuel is real. When both work together, that's soundness, and that's what justice requires. Episode 4, Witness and Truth. This is where logic and law beautifully connect. In logic, a premise is something that must be true. In law, a witness is someone who tells what they saw. So a witness is like a living premise. If the witness is honest, the whole argument, the whole case stands strong. But if the witness lies, everything collapses. That made me think about what it means to live as a witness, not just in court, but in life. To speak truthfully, to live in a way that my words and actions match what's real. That's not easy, but maybe that's the most important part of being human and of being a lawyer. Episode 5, Deduction and Induction. Logic also taught me there are two main ways of reasoning. Deduction, which gives 100% certainty. If your reasons are true, your conclusion must be true. Induction, which gives high probability. It's when we look at patterns and make predictions. In law, both are used every day. Deduction builds strict legal rules. Induction helps us interpret human behavior and evidence. Deduction is law, induction is life. And we need both. Episode 6, Thinking with Heart and Mind. Before studying logic, I thought it was just cold and mathematical. But I was wrong. Logic and emotion aren't enemies, they actually complete each other. If we only use logic, we can become harsh. But if we only follow emotion, we can lose truth. Justice, I learned, lives in the middle, where logic meets compassion. Episode 7, The Library and Silence. At my home university in Pohang, everything is about community, people, music, conversations, which I truly love. But at Sogang, I rediscovered silence. The library was huge and peaceful. Surrounded by thousands of books, I felt something powerful. I could almost hear the voices of authors, people who had searched for truth long before me. And I realized studying isn't just about learning from others, it's about finding your own voice and learning to listen deeply to others too. Last episode, the commute and lesson. Every day, 4 hours on commute, but I didn't mind. It gave me time to think, to read, to be quiet. I realized something simple but powerful. It doesn't matter where you are, in a small city like Pohang or in the heart of Seoul. What matters is what you do with what you have. Every train ride became a classroom. Every day, a lesson. Every moment, a part of my story.
These 3 weeks in Seoul taught me more than I expected. Logic taught me how to think. Law taught me how to prove. But life taught me how to witness. To live as a witness means to live truthfully, to let your thoughts, words, and actions align even when no one is watching. Maybe that's the real purpose of law. Not just to argue better, but to live more honestly. Maybe that's the real purpose of learning logic. Not just to reason clearly, but to love truth enough to live by it. So to anyone watching, wherever you are, you don't need to go too far to grow. Growth actually begins where you are, when you start thinking deeply and live truthfully. Because what you do with what you have, that's where your history begins. Join my journey, Ki.